Welcome back. Today, I want to address something that comes up so often when I talk to people about their awakenings and maybe about Kundalini awakening in particular. It is a topic that is often veiled in fear, in shame, and in that deep sense of loneliness that is inherent in walking an awakening path of our own. That topic is being crazy, being seen as crazy, being called crazy. I believe that this is a fear that more or less all of us carry because we've all been socialized, we've all learned what is okay behavior and what is not. And there's also a possibility that we have had people around us when we grew up that displayed behaviors that we could not understand and that for one reason or another we found to be dangerous. So we fear them, we feared becoming like that, and we internalized that fear of being crazy. So whatever the reason is, we probably all have it, but it is definitely more pronounced, I think, for people on an awakening path because everything gets amplified. If there is something we need to work with, it will definitely come up. And for example, if we're going through a Kundalini awakening journey, it may be difficult to hide it. If we're having involuntary movements of the body, maybe violent ones, then how do you explain that to your loved ones? How do you explain that to medical professionals? How do you explain it to your boss when you're already struggling to explain it to yourself? And confusion is another part of it. You cannot explain what is going on for you mentally, emotionally, why you're having all these ups and downs when you are in that state of confusion that comes with awakening. So I do believe that this is a very important part of the entire awakening journey because we're meant to meet with this confusion. We're meant to meet with all our weirdness, all the aspects of us that have been disowned, that we do not want to see as me, because feeling integrated and whole, of course, doesn't include only the feel good, the happy parts of ourselves. It includes accepting, embracing every single aspect of us as humans in the world, which means we can hold the entire spectrum of everything. And so that is something that can be easier said than done, but it's still maybe something we can accept. But I believe that there is a deeper level. There is a deeper struggle than this loneliness, this confusion. And that is the fear of actually them being right, the fear of actually going crazy, the fear of actually heading towards insanity. What if they're right? I actually invite you to pause here and sit down and meditate on this. What would the implications be if I were insane? If I were losing my mind? I invite you to do this not only because I know that meeting our fears is a part of the awakening, but also because it has a very specific, profound door for further surrender. Now, it might not be available for everyone, and so if it's not accessible for you, then please move on. But try it. If you're called to it, try it. Now, let me clarify a little bit where I'm coming from with sharing my own life example. So, if you've followed me, you know that about a decade ago, plus minus, I had my first awakening, my first dark night of the soul. And in a way, you could say that I was actually losing my mind because I was losing my memory, my anchor to my identity. I was losing my sense of being an identity in the world. And so that period, of course, was very dark, but it led to another period where I could rebuild myself. I could create an identity from scratch, knowing, realizing that it's all empty anyway. I can choose. I can choose what identity I put together. And even as I had gone through all of that, over many years of reintegrating myself, when I took the next step in my awakening, and you will have heard about this too, when I chose to trust my heart enough to say, I choose this. I choose divine union. I choose to experience whatever it is that I need to experience to get myself there. That is when my life started falling apart. But it wasn't just losing the people around me, the places around me, all of that, the job. It was also losing the trust of those people. These were the people that I had trusted the most in my life, and close family, those who should be there for you, now called me crazy, insane. And so that begs the question, of course, when you're losing everything, when you're in the middle of all that, how is this worth it? Can I trust that this was the right decision? Or are they actually right? Am I going insane? Am I crazy? So fast forward about a year later, I was spending many, many days, or part of my days, in the forest, in the wilderness in Sweden. And I remember several times, but especially this one time, I was sitting in this glade on a hill on moss, surrounded by pine and birch trees, all beautiful. And I had had a big period of letting go of things, of seeing through my own obstacles, of cutting through illusions. And I was sitting there on the hill, surrendered. And I was feeling gratitude to be able to sit there and feel surrendered. And so that gratitude intensified. And suddenly I found myself, as if by grace, being filled. I was being filled by love, a sensation, a feeling that it is very, very hard to describe. I would say it felt like unconditional love pouring through my entire being. It was visceral, it was in every dimension of my existence. And while I could understand that this could be the truth of my essence, what I felt was that this was being graced to me by another presence. I could feel that presence there with me. And it was heartbreaking to me in the best and most beautiful ways possible. Because all my life I had wanted guidance, and especially after entering a devotional path of my awakening journey, I had wanted to know, what can I truly trust? How can I stay on path? How can I truly know what is real? That need to know what is real, to know what is true, has been the strongest driving factor for me, and it has only ever grown stronger. So as you may remember, I was a physicist before. I used to be an unbeliever. I used to be a huge skeptic, and I never took anything for face value. I wanted to have experiences in myself, or otherwise I would be open to them, but also be open to discard them. And now here I was, for the first time in my life, having the experience in my body, in my energy, in my presence, of being guided. And that meant two things for me, not just the confirmation that actually following my heart's longing was the right choice for me. It was the true choice for me, and I am going in the right direction. But it was also a subtle at first, before I fully owned it and recognized it, but very, very profound empowerment, because I had prayed to have that guidance. Oh, I had prayed, and here I was, and my prayer had come true. As remote and impossible as it was, as unbelieving as I was, as skeptical as I was, it had still come true. So I still had a long journey to go. I already knew that the flip side of the coin for me, with being a skeptic and having come from a history of not believing in concepts of God, the flip side of that coin is me lacking self-trust. And even after I had that experience, the first of a few in the forest, I went back into confusion. I went into forgetting, into being lost again. And I realized then, and I've only realized more and more, that it was about building self trust. And this is what happens when we have followed our heart in the past, and it has led us to pain, it has led us to hurt, it has led us to betrayal, whatever it is. We learn that our heart cannot be trusted, our inner wisdom cannot be trusted. It's not the only part that has to do with self trust and losing self trust, but it is an important part. And so that plays into everything on the spiritual path, because the spiritual path is all about letting go. And how are we to let go when we're paralyzed by the fear what will happen of falling, of losing ourselves, of losing our mind? See, even if you have a guru that you really trust, what is happening there is that you have enough trust in yourself that you can extend that trust to this other person and trust your discernment that this is a good decision, that this person will serve you on your journey. And if we don't have that, if we don't have any amount of self trust, then we can't extend it to other people and we can't extend it to our journey. So, really, awakening relies so heavily on self trust, because without it, we can't take that leap of faith. We can't exit our comfort zone and learn something new. And you will get lost. Awakening is getting lost. We will not realize something entirely new if we don't let go of the fixation of that which we already know or what we think we know, right? And so we will get lost, and we do need to grow comfortable with that lostness, and that comfortableness with the lostness comes from the self-trust. The self-trust, I feel, is what fills the gap between when we have a cognitive awakening, what I usually call a third eye awakening, where we have this new vision of life. We can see that we are all one. We can see that we are empowered as human beings, that we are able in principle to feel this infinite unconditional love, because we are that. We're not separate from that. We realize that all of this is true. We feel all of that is true, but we're not feeling that viscerally in our body. It's still something distant to us. It's still on a conceptual level. And I feel that self-trust is what helps bring us from that conceptuality to the real lived experience. And why do I say that? Well, because we have this beautiful realization, cognitive realization. And we're so happy, and the happiness stays for a few days, and then we go back into normal life and we realize we're still suffering. Actually, life hasn't caught up. Everything mirrored in the external world is still problematic as it was before. We don't feel happiness in our body anymore, that has faded, all of these things. And so we believe, once we have that cognitive awakening, that now we're done, now we're set. I got this, I understand everything now. But that's the beginning. That is when we can hold that image, that vision of this beautiful new possible reality against the apparent reality of what we see in our life, all the blockages we have, all these things we hold on to, emotions, patterns, memories, painful, pleasurable, whatever it is. Our job is to pierce through it all. Once we're given the realization, the work is to pierce through it in every moment, in every moment. Every moment becomes an awakening into more and more integrated states, into more and more embodied states in our real lives. We may know all these things, but we don't trust ourselves to feel it in ourselves. And so that is what we need to work on. And one of the ways that we work on that is to collect these experiences like pearls of trust in an ocean of lostness. These experiences that we cannot deny happen. They were visceral experiences. They were true and completely real in the moment. And when we forget those experiences that we had them, we need to remind ourselves now and then, because they were there for a reason. I believe that we have them not all the time, but every now and then to motivate us to continue on our healing path, to keep us motivated, to integrate deeper, to integrate in different aspects of our lives so that more and more as we align, we can show up in this life being that love, being that peace, being that joy that we know is possible. Talking about that, I'm now restarting the Infinite Love Immersion, which is designed to help you find and stand in your own heart's truth. Because I know that only by finding and trusting your own heart's truth will the work you do in the world and internally be sustainable, be deeply, truly beneficial for where you want to be in the world, who you want to be in the world. So it's a two-part series of online workshops, and in the middle there is a retreat as well here in Cyprus. And the first part is all about laying the foundation for life through awakening so that you can feel stable, you can feel that you have something to build from, to expand from. And in the second part of the series, and they are linked, so I do recommend doing both. In the second, we dive more into the tantric parts. So we dive into this essence that we are and this bliss and ecstasy, what is keeping us from experiencing it, even though we know that it is a part of who we are. So it will be, although it sounds esoteric, it will be a practical immersion down to earth, applicable to your life. And it will be a small, intimate group so that everyone feels welcome and safe to share their experiences and to grow together in the group. And if you are interested, then please contact me. I will include the details below. And if you're not interested, I still hope that you can take this one thing with you from today, and that is that love exists. That love that is unconditional, that is infinite, that is limitless in nature. It exists within you, and you can experience it if you are intentional enough, if you follow all the steps that are being given to you by life, and you keep doing the work. It is possible for you in this lifetime. And I hope that you feel inspired to go for it. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope to see you next time. Namaste.
The seventh one you cannot handle. There are 112 ways in which you can attain to a chakra which we refer to as Agna. But from Agna to Sahasrar, there is no way. There is no way to do it. You just have to jump into an abyss. If you have to jump into an abyss, you should be insane, or you should have enormous trust in somebody. Somebody says jump, and you are jumping because you have such a deep trust in somebody that when he says jump, it has to be good for you. You simply jump into a bottomless pit. So, the journey from the Mooladhara to Agna, there are 112 ways to get there. But from there to there is no way. It is just one jump that can happen in trust, in devotion, or in madness. Choice is yours.